Imagine finding a ship adrift on a calm ocean, perfectly seaworthy, its cargo intact, its sails trimmed, and not a single soul on board. No struggle, no bodies, a meal still warm on the galley table. The crew vanished, as if the sea had swallowed them whole. What force could erase 33 lives and leave behind only questions? Stay with me, because what happened to the Mary Celeste is stranger than fiction. For more than a century, historians, sailors, and conspiracy theorists have argued over one simple, terrifying fact. A ship was found in October 1872, drifting near the Azores, and nobody knows what happened to the people who sailed her. Some say mutiny, others whisper pirates, a few point to natural disaster. But every answer raises new problems and one impossible silence at the heart of the Atlantic. How could an entire ship's company leave a functioning vessel in daylight and never return? The Mary Celeste began life as the American brigantine Amazon, launched in 1861. Renamed and re-registered several times, she became Mary Celeste in 1868. In November 1872, she left New York for Genoa with 1,701 barrels of denatured alcohol, a volatile cargo, and a crew of 7, plus the captain, Benjamin Briggs, his wife Sarah, and their 2-year-old daughter Sophia. The captain was experienced and respected. The ship was fast and well provisioned. This was supposed to be a routine crossing. It wasn't. On November 7, 1872, the Mary Celeste left New York under clear orders and with a competent crew. There were logbooks, provisions, navigational instruments, everything a captain needed. They sailed southeast into the Atlantic and vanished from ordinary view. 10 days later, another ship, the Dei Gratia, came across the Mary Celeste. The sight that met them was baffling. The Mary Celeste was under partial sail and drifting, the hatches closed, the cargo untouched. Yet the captain's cabin showed signs of domestic life, abruptly interrupted. There was no one on board. No one. The Dei Gratia's crew boarded and found the ship in working order. The pumps were dry, the ship's papers were present, but the logbook was partly missing. The last entry dated 10 days earlier. Lifeboats were gone, but there was no sign of damage to the Mary Celeste that would force an evacuation. Foodstuffs were largely untouched, navigational instruments were intact, even the captain's personal effects were left behind. The only real oddities, some disarranged clothing, a compass that might have been tampered with, and a jerry-rigged pump handle lashed in place. Why would a well-led crew abandon a sound vessel and never return? Within days, whispers filled taverns and shipping offices. Perhaps a sudden panic. Gas fumes from the alcohol cargo seeping into the hold drove the crew to flee in fear of explosion. Perhaps a violent storm had damaged the lifeboats and the crew had taken them, later perishing at sea. Perhaps pirates seized the people and left the ship as a warning. Each theory fits some facts, but none fits all. The ship's rigging and conditions suggested there had been no struggle. The alcohol barrels were largely intact. If fumes caused panic, why leave navigational instruments and papers? If pirates took them, where were the plundering signs? Theories multiplied, and each multiplied the mystery. If neither storm, fire, nor pirate raid explains the empty ship, what does? The answer may lie in a single overlooked detail discovered during the first hours aboard the Mary Celeste. A detail that changes everything. Want to find out what it is? The ship's log was the first clue, its last entry dated November 25, 1872 at 5 a.m. It placed the Mary Celeste just 6 miles from Santa Maria Island in the Azores. The handwriting was calm, routine, precise. No sign of distress, no mention of bad weather. And then, nothing. No further entries.
No emergency message, as if Captain Briggs simply put down his pen and vanished. When the crew of the De Gratia boarded the Mary Celeste, they found the Mary Celeste listing slightly to one side. 3.5 feet of water sloshed in the bilge, enough to worry a captain, but far from fatal. The ship's single lifeboat was missing, but everything else was in order. Provisions for 6 months, cargo untouched, valuables still present. It was as though the crew had left in haste, but not terror. Even stranger, the captain's sword lay in his cabin, its blade stained with what appeared to be blood. Later testing revealed it was rust. No sign of violence, no bodies, no struggle. A ship adrift between safety and silence. Investigators later noticed 9 barrels of alcohol had leaked. Not much, but enough to fill the hold with invisible fumes. Denatured alcohol doesn't just burn, it explodes. Experts later proposed that Briggs and his men may have opened the hatches, smelled the sharp chemical gas, and panicked, fearing the ship would ignite. They might have launched the lifeboat temporarily, tethered it to the Mary Celeste with a rope, intending to return once the air cleared. But then, a gust of wind, a snapped line, and the lifeboat, carrying every living soul, drifted helplessly away into the Atlantic. If that's true, the Mary Celeste became a tomb without corpses. But those who knew Captain Briggs doubted that theory. He was not a man to panic, a devout Christian, disciplined sailor, meticulous in every log entry. He wouldn't risk his wife and child on a whim. If he ordered abandonment, something far more serious must have happened, something no one could later prove.
And so, new theories emerged, and each one darker than the last. Some claimed the crew mutinied, murdered Briggs and his family, and then fled in the lifeboat. But nothing was stolen, no blood, no signs of struggle. The sailors were all vetted, trusted, and well paid. Why would they kill their captain and leave behind a fully stocked ship? Then came the even wilder claims: sea monsters, ghosts, and curses. Newspapers of the 1870s loved a good mystery, and soon the Mary Celeste wasn't just a ghost ship, it was the ghost of the sea itself. The Mary Celeste was sailed to Gibraltar, where British officials conducted a full investigation. Every inch of the hull was inspected. No sign of fire, no structural damage, no trace of human life since the morning of November 25th. Yet one final mystery lingered. When the cargo was unloaded, inspectors discovered 6 barrels were empty, but not burst. They had been made of red oak, unlike the rest, which were white oak, meaning they were more porous. Alcohol might have leaked slowly, producing those mysterious fumes. But still, that only explained the fear, not the vanishing. What happened after they left the ship? Why was no lifeboat ever found? And why did the sea return the Mary Celeste, but not her people? A decade later, the ship would fall into the hands of a man who would exploit her cursed reputation and bring about her final mysterious end. When the Mary Celeste was finally towed to Gibraltar, her mysterious story was far from over. Captain Morehouse of the De Gracia, the man who found her, claimed a reward for salvaging the derelict. But the court's reaction shocked everyone. Instead of praise, the crew faced suspicion. The British Vice Admiralty Court could not believe a ship could simply be abandoned in perfect sailing condition.
Rumors spread. Had the de Gratia's men boarded the ship after killing the crew? Had they falsified the logs, hoping for a handsome salvage profit? Investigators searched for any sign of foul play, but none existed. No blood, no forced entry, no stolen goods. Just a ghost ship, eerily untouched by human hands. In the end, the court reluctantly paid the salvage claim, but only a fraction of what was expected. It was a decision wrapped in unease, as if even the law itself feared touching the ship's cursed fate. After the case closed, the Mary Celeste was repaired and sent back to sea, but her name was now poison. No sailor wanted to serve aboard her. Those who did regretted it. Voyage after voyage, the Mary Celeste seemed followed by misfortune. Captains fell ill, crews deserted, profits dwindled. The ship that had once crossed oceans with pride now sailed as a floating omen. By the 1880s, her reputation was ruined. And then, one man decided to use that reputation for profit. In 1884, the Mary Celeste was under the command of Captain Gilman C. Parker. Desperate for money, Parker hatched a plan. He loaded the ship with a worthless cargo, cheap junk disguised as valuable goods, and sailed her toward Haiti. His plan? To deliberately wreck her on a reef, claim insurance, and walk away rich. But fate, or perhaps the ship herself, had other ideas. The Mary Celeste struck a coral reef off the coast of Haiti and was destroyed. Parker survived, but not for long. When investigators uncovered the fraud, Parker was charged, disgraced, and released in poor health. Within months, he was dead. Locals whispered that the Mary Celeste had finally claimed her last captain.
By the late 19th century, newspapers across the world had transformed the Mary Celeste into a legend. Some said she was haunted by the souls of her lost crew. Others believed she was cursed from the day she was built, a vessel doomed to carry misfortune wherever she went. Authors like Arthur Conan Doyle, before creating Sherlock Holmes, even wrote fictionalized stories about her, spreading her fame as the ghost ship of the Atlantic. To this day, no one knows the truth. No human remains were ever found. No confirmed sightings of the lifeboat. No single theory explains every clue. Only the Mary Celeste herself remains, a name whispered with both awe and unease. Alcohol fumes explosion theory. Fumes from leaking barrels caused panic, forcing the crew to flee. Waterspout or rogue wave. A sudden sea phenomenon swept the deck, forcing evacuation. Piracy or mutiny. Rejected due to lack of violence or theft. Supernatural intervention. A legend born from fear and the human need to explain the unexplainable. Each theory solves one mystery and creates another. Perhaps that's why the Mary Celeste endures, because some mysteries refuse to rest. Even now, the empty decks of the Mary Celeste drift through our imagination, a ghost not made of wood and sail, but of questions that will never be answered. What happened in those silent hours between the final log entry and the ship's discovery? Did Captain Briggs look back and see his vessel drifting away, knowing it would survive, but they would not? Or did something else, something darker, take them beneath the waves? Perhaps the sea keeps her secrets, and perhaps some stories are meant to remain untold. If you were captivated by the mystery of the Mary Celeste,
Then don't miss the story of a man who survived the unthinkable twice. Click the end screen to watch Tsutomu Yamaguchi, the man who survived 2 atomic bombs. His story will change how you see fate, courage, and survival itself. And if you believe these forgotten stories should live on, like, share, comment, and subscribe to Secrets of History, where the past is never truly gone. It's just waiting to be discovered.